Now, I have not brought Monica up yet because I have to give a disclaimer today. Here's the disclaimer. There's a couple of disclaimers. One, your Monica Perez, the smartest of the two between her and I, has got a little bit of jet lag. She's flown. Her plane was delayed, and I'm setting this up. This is a big excuse is what I'm doing. She is in a place with, I would say, limited Wi-Fi at best. Limited Wi-Fi at best. She has family around her, which you may hear in the background. You never know. And she's already told me her brain is a little fatigued today. So what I have planned on is a fun podcast. I've got some headlines we're going to talk about, some mystery picks she doesn't know. It's a mystery to her. It's going to be fun. And I know Monica pretty well. As we go through this, she'll make it heavy and it'll be about deep, thoughtful stuff. And with that being said, with all of her semi-together Wi-Fi, I'm going to bring her into the stream and we'll see if we can make this work. If it doesn't work, don't blame Monica or me. Blame Wi-Fi. Was that a good disclaimer?
Yes. And we should say that, spin it the other way, the show must go on. Yeah. The show must go on. We are walking on through fire to get the show up and at 'em. Where I'm at my mother's house, the house I grew up in. And
what house? Whose house?
Her latest my mother.
Mother?
Yeah. My mother. Right. So her latest great grandbaby is here. So there's like a multi-generational noise pollution in the background, as you can hear. And so to get here, I was 5 hours delayed at the airport in LAX. I was sleeping on the floor, then finally got on the plane, didn't get to my mother's house till 4 o'clock in the morning. And then jet lag already, I hate. So
we can
and her Wi-Fi blows.
So I'm just going to go ahead and apologize now. There will be times that it'll seem Monica and I are on the same page, and there'll be times where there'll be some lag. And if I talk over you, Monica, I apologize now.
They already went out. My mother and my brother ran out because this is the first day you're allowed to vote. And they were so excited to cast their vote for Trump. My mother's 91. She can hardly walk. And she's, I got to go vote for Trump. And they were all mad at me because I don't love Trump. And I'm like, but Ron Paul. Actually, I have been disenfranchised in the state of California because I'm not allowed to write in. I have to pick from their selections. It's very annoying to me.
Okay. Hi, Franny.
It's super annoying.
Hi, Franny. She said hi.
She's here in this house.
Yeah, she said hi on the chat too, though.
Yes.
Hey, are you on a computer? Tell me you can see your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm about to bring pictures up, and we're going to have a fun. So here's what I thought we would do today. It'll probably be a little shorter, but I promise if you're watching, you'll enjoy it if technology will help us. I went to your website, your Facebook page. I've got 2 or 3 mystery pictures I'm going to bring up and let you explain to us. What's up, John Jasper? I also have some pictures of different podcasts you've done with guests, and I want you to tell us about the podcast and what you might have learned from that podcast. See how I'm letting you just relax? And then I thought it would be fun for us to get Monica's take on some crazy headlines that are out today and yesterday that are not typical headlines that you would gravitate to. That sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Hey, Daryl. Hey, JJ.
Did that sound like fun, Monica? Can you hear me?
It sounds like fun. I'm just trying not to talk at the same time as you because it'll. Hey, hey-oh.
What's that picture of?
A skinny Monica. It took me 4 hours to make my signs that day. I marched against Obamacare numerous times, and that was one of the times with my Ron Paul t-shirt, and people were just like, oh, Ron Paul's got a dangerous foreign policy of not going to war. And they could have had Ron Paul, and they got Obama instead.
Were you happy, or were you, I know in the debate Thursday, Biden said that no one lost their insurance under Obamacare, and I posted that and had 60 people respond going,
I lost my insurance. Yeah. No, that was the first time. My mother used to drag me down on January 22nd to DC when I was a little kid. So I did used to go with her on the Right to Life marches. But as far as like being an adult of my own volition, that was the only time I ever really physically became politically active. Was every time there was a major march on Washington against Obamacare, I went. And I tried to organize the same thing against COVID lockdowns and huge deficits and stuff for 4th of July this year. And all the guys who organized those Obamacare rallies would not answer me. Freedom Works, Glenn Beck, nobody wanted to hear it. You know why?
Why?
Because there's a Republican.
Your Wi-Fi broke up right in the middle of you making fun of Republicans.
Sorry. It did. That's my mother.
That's
my mother.
Hey, Daryl Jackson
and her
asked
magic.
if we watched the final debate. Daryl, I did watch the whole debate. I've watched all the debates. And just so everybody knows, I go watch other things that I disagree with, like the Young Turks. I go watch other things all the time that I don't agree with. And I know that I don't like them at all, but I have to watch other ideas, or I'm afraid of getting trapped in that, that confirmation bias silo, and I don't want to do that. So, did you watch the debate?
I fell asleep the second it started and woke up when it was over. It was almost like God knew I couldn't take the stress. I'm telling you, like my entire body is melting down from stress. That's one of the reasons I came to see my mom, is that I knew it would I could disconnect and get a little. So it's very stressful. This whole following politics is miserable.
Trump won. He did do some misspeaks, I think, and exaggerations, but honestly, Biden lied so much that the media never calls him out on. It blew my mind. So
I'm not the only one who fell asleep. Daryl fell asleep also.
Well, the first debate, I quit watching about 15 minutes into it when I realized it was not going to be, Trump was just going to interrupt the whole time. I couldn't deal with that.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like, just because I like him doesn't mean I have to watch an hour of him just not. It was political malpractice too. It didn't represent him or his party well. So that's what frustrated me.
I actually thought he was sharp as a tack. I liked it. I didn't care that it interrupted him because it is such a show. I mean, it's like a theater.
He was just as sharp in this last debate, I thought, and actually more effective because he did what I said. Me and you talked about. Let Biden talk. The more he talks, the worse he looks.
Good point.
Plus, he got really tired towards the end. You could tell Joe Biden just could not. He was not holding up well through the debate. I don't think physically, but that's what I know.
Well, I sincerely doubt he wants to be president.
No, he wants Kamala to be president. We all know that. Hey, what's this picture of off your Facebook page?
That's Crazy Sock Day. That's my son has Down syndrome.
That picture makes me happy.
Yep. If you want to celebrate Down syndrome on Down Syndrome Day, 3/21, March 21st, because it's the 21st chromosome. You have 3 of the trisomy 21. Then you post a picture of you and your crazy socks. It's actually hard to get him to wear a pair of socks that matches each other. So he loves his Irish socks. He's very proud of his heritage, without realizing that not everybody wants to hear that. But he has usually like a shamrock on one sock and a taco on the other. And it's very
well, my teenagers never wore matched socks ever. Yeah.
I guess I'm just a boomer.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Now we're going to start going into some pictures because this is the fun podcast. If you're just tuning in, Monica's visiting her mother in New York. The Wi-Fi on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 5 at best. So we're going to navigate a 2. We're going to navigate this in the hopes that we get long enough to get some fun in, but I don't want to get too far down serious trails in case it doesn't. I don't think it lends itself to good conversation right now. So I'm going to ask you about some pictures.
That was a very interesting show. And to his credit, he put it up there, even though I was stepping on any kind of like landmine I could have with the COVID stuff in the beginning. But I think his father, if I recall, I don't want to misrepresent his story, but that host's father was a CIA agent who used to actually, like, he was a tech guy for the CIA. So he would go in and tap people's phones without a warrant and all that kind of stuff. And that was very interesting. And then on top of that, he said, and he is the second person, he was the first person, but I know somebody else who said the same thing, that he was visited at his house by the FBI because of something he said on social media.
Wow.
Weird, right?
It is very weird. I'm surprised you've not had visitors yet.
Me too. I'm a little worried about the COVID concentration camps that they're building in Canada. I feel like they're probably building them here too. And it's not just for people who...
They're building concentration camps?
They call them isolation facilities. Camps where they concentrate a subset of the population because of a crisis.
Yeah, I as much as I abdicate to you with your intelligence, I know what the concentration camps and isolation camps are. I didn't know they were building them.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying, like, it sounds like I'm putting Alex Jones FEMA camps. They probably are using the FEMA camps, but I'm telling you, they are. Well, I should say, this is what I can tell you, that I have, and it's probably meant to freak us out, but I saw a request on the Canadian government's website for health accommodations and food for people to kind of give the government feedback on how they could service or provision isolation facilities. And it said the isolation facilities would be for people who had COVID, tested positive, were in close contact with people who had it, and for other reasons unspecified. And since the CDC just changed the definition of close contact very spuriously, if that's the right word, really, really messed up, then I feel like they can really, it's going to fold in with the red flag type laws where someone's just going to say, I think my neighbor is a scoff mask, doesn't really believe. And if he doesn't really believe, then he's probably not as hygienic and he needs to be isolated.
And it seems like they keep when they change that, of course you made it. It takes less time to get infected. You need to be further apart. The longer you're in a room, it used to be 15 minutes and 6 feet apart. Now it's like over 24 hours. Something I can't remember the details.
Exactly, and it was based on a very, very sketchy single incident anecdote. And if I said that about my own experiences, they would say, you don't understand science. You can't just do it because of one thing. And even the one thing I think was totally misinterpreted. And it was also asymptomatic viral shedder thing was debunked immediately. And still, we've changed our whole lives based on the false premise that you can get it from someone who doesn't have symptoms.
I love it when you talk about scientists doing this stuff. That makes me happy. I can see scientists sitting around going, it looks like it can spread within 7 feet instead of.
And it's just annoying because I'm an intelligent person. I can read. And these people who haven't read the particular studies, but they wear a white lab coat, laugh at me because I'm just a mom. Like having a uterus makes me unable to think. So
I think they're insulting people with penises and uteruses.
Really? Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, but if you wear a coat, you can be forgiven for having those organs. Well, it has to be a white coat.
Well, the long coat covers up both your penis and uterus, so it allows the intellect just to come from up here. I don't know. That's against science. It's
like science. A Faraday bag for your hormones.
Well,
I did just buy a Faraday pack for my phone.
Well, I do think, though, you're right. It is kind of scary now that you brought up the camps, because if the neighbor says this person is not adhering to the social distancing, if this person is consistently telling me they don't believe in the mask, and I don't know, we don't know where this is going to go. Didn't Fauci just come out and say, even after the vaccine, mandatory mask and social distancing could go into 2022? Yes, he did.
I believe it. I mean, I didn't hear that, but I think that they just want us to change our culture, because I remember always seeing random people who appeared to be from China wearing masks in the grocery store for years here in the United States. And I just wondered if they were sick. And then I realized that they're not sick. They were trained to wear the masks as if it were going to protect them from all of our diseases. So I feel like, and this is, they came here, but if they feel immersed in foreign microbes, they were afraid. And that's what I think they're trying to do to our heads.
Daryl Jackson said 1,608
Same
cases
thing.
of COVID-19 in my state as of today. Well, the testing's
think
gone
he
way
might
up.
be in
And the one thing that they're not talking about, at least not as much, is the death rate. If you go into the hospital, has gone way down. I mean, if you go into the hospital now, the odds of you dying compared to 5-6 months ago seems that the medical profession has gotten better at treating us.
I would say that is probably 100. I haven't seen it. I'm just guessing. This is the road I would go down to see if that was 100% a function of overuse of ventilators, because I have yet to meet or hear about a single person who, of like people I know, I'm not talking about the newspaper, but when people say,
Right.
I found somebody sick, somebody died, every single solitary person, every one of them was on a ventilator.
Yeah. That's
So
me
if
too.
people are not putting America, and Trump wants to push the ventilators to foreign countries. So let's see those numbers change for the worse in foreign countries, even as they maybe back off here. Oh, Stefan.
What's this
Klivnik.
podcast? So
Stefan
this real quick. So
Klivnik.
these next few pictures I'm going to bring up are still shots off of Monica Perez's YouTube page.
Yes.
And I thought you could tell us who the guest was, what the topic was, and if people want to go watch it, they can go watch the interviews, the conversations, but maybe just a little bit on what was cool about that in these conversations I'm going to bring up.
So I have my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Monica Perez, and these shows go on there after they're on Facebook. And that was it was a live stream. Sometimes I do live streams on Saturday afternoons with a guy, Stefan Klivnik, a very young guy who lives in Sweden. He's Swedish. And he's a hardcore libertarian, even like anarcho-capitalist style. And he's an excellent thinker. And he writes really well-researched articles. And he wrote an exploration of vaccination safety, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from last year. So before all this happened, and he just said, look, I don't have a horse in this race. I just want to know about vaccines and what the evidence is, because it seems to be a very emotional subject. And boy, was that a comprehensive article he wrote with citations up the wazoo, as my father would say. And he was very pleasant to chat with. I couldn't keep him on forever because the time zone was crazy different, but I expect him to he could be the next Hans Hermann Hoppe.
Oh, wow. Hey, who's this guy? Who are these two guys?
That's Sam Tripoli. That's the original digital gangster. And Binkley, my co-host.
And Binkley, yeah.
Yeah. So that's us.
What did you talk about? What did you talk about? What did you talk about with Sam?
Well, Sam has a lot of coals in the fire, as it were. He has a podcast called Hats, where he goes down a lot of conspiracy stuff. There are a few people I know who kind of went down the Joe Rogan format, like long, no holds barred conversations with alternative thinkers. Sam is starting to go down what he calls conspirituality. So you can be conspiracy, and then like the next step is conspirituality, where you see there's like a whole nother layer of consciousness and truth and all that. So he's there, but he very generously invited me to the Comedy Store in LA to do a kind of quasi COVID live show where we kind of had a live stream, and there was an audience out in the parking lot, but it was very nice of him. And that was around that time. Super fun to talk to Sam always.
Yeah. You broke up a little bit in case people missed it. The name of Sam's podcast is The Tinfoil Hat.
Yeah. Tinfoil Hat.
You broke up.
He's
in the
so
middle
great.
Of that. Yeah,
sorry.
It's a good. I've listened to that podcast a few times. Hey, Monica,
yeah, he's great.
There's a bunch of people here. What's that?
That's the Union of the Unwanted. That was, I believe, Sam's brainchild, but some of the other guys were in on its inception. In particular, that upper left is Ricky Varandas. He's from the Ripple Effect podcast. And every other Monday, they get basically, it started as a bunch of alternative media podcasters who were kind of in fear of being censored. People who had gotten taken off one platform or another, which I certainly have, more than one. And we just are kind of forming a coalition so that if one of us goes down, the other ones can kind of spread the word. Sometimes we have guests. A lot of times you have guests. In this case, the guest is the guy in the lowest right-hand corner. He's got a fedora on. He really plays the role of an investigative journalist. He would not come out as being left-leaning, but he was absolutely very, very down on the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys and wasn't at all worried about Antifa. And that whole crowd really are very pro-Trump, it seems to me, like Trump is Batman kind of thing.
I don't like you talked. I don't like the Batman concept, but I'm pro-Trump.
Why? That's what the people who think he's going to save. The people who think he's going to save children from being trafficked think he's a billionaire by day and a superhero by night, and that's the whole Q thing. I don't know if any of those people would identify as Q, but that theme is Q, and they get very they really like to defend Trump because it's so important. That cause is so important to them. So I respect it. But me, I always kind of throw the wrench in there.
I'm a Trump supporter, but I think I said this last week. I think that's one of the issues. I think that's how we get people to take advantage of their leadership, is when we look at leaders as there's a difference between giving someone respect and giving them reverence. And I think over the last, we've just given our leaders this, we got to call them congressmen. I get it. I understand there's positions. Yeah, it's almost like
they're complete scum. Almost.
Yeah, foam fingers. I just don't like it. I support Trump for some of his stuff, but I don't think he's not a superhero. I think he's the right guy for the time, though. And I know me.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that 1,000
because
times.
This is the time for $4 trillion deficits.
Well, we're going to get $4 trillion anyway. I better spend the money.
We never had that forever. What the hell? The hell?
It doesn't matter if you're in California or New York. I love coming through the screen and poking you right where I'm poking. That makes
Has Bill Barr grabbed guns in your town yet, buddy?
He ain't getting mine. I got me an Irish temper, a 90-pound dog. Come for it. Come on. Hey, who's this person?
Oh, that's Melody Krell. She knows Trump personally. She is very, very staunch and sincere defender of Trump, and she absolutely thinks that he is working with a different arm of the deep state, the military deep state, to defend against the globalists, and that Trump needs to be supported at all costs, and everything he does is in the service of saving this country.
When you talked with her,
so I had a nice conversation.
Part of that one, did she convince you or move you at all, or do you move her at all? Was there anything that she said that made you do a double take on your thoughts about Trump?
Well, funny enough, she did say that he is a very nice guy. He remembered people's birthdays and stuff, and that actually is the earmark of a consummate politician. However, I do think that is consistent with what his reputation was from a lot of people who kind of knew him behind the scenes, that he wasn't like a snotty jerk, which I respect. And it does matter when someone feels like they know someone personally, but I have to say, I knew someone who absolutely swore to me with tears in her eyes that John Edwards was the most sincere, loving, best husband ever, would make a great president. Had the same thing about Clinton, like the one thing that is absolutely true about politicians is when you meet them, they make you feel like they are real.
Yeah, they have a way of making you feel like you're the most important person in the room. That's when you leave there, that's how you feel like you have a connection with politics. Good business people are that way too. There are people you meet in life, and when you leave that meeting, you're like, they really made me feel like I was the most important person around them. And you leave with an affection for that person, an affection, not infection. Well, you might leave with an infection with some of them. I don't know.
Might be worth it sometimes.
I doubt it. Hey, that's awkward. Hey, what about that picture? What's that?
You're so funny, Clint. You're so funny. Those are the Monica Perez personally designed line of Propaganda Report coffee mugs. You can see that the most important thing in my life is not making sure there's no background noise when I'm trying to do a podcast, but it's making sure that there are enough coffee cups to go around. So the big one's my fave.
What's that?
I'm a little annoyed at Binkley because he was supposed to model that. Binkley's a skinny guy with a little bit of height, so it was going to look good on him. That is the T-shirt that I also designed and produced, more or less, on my floor. But it's an awesome T-shirt.
Maybe put it on a hanger, 2 hangers or something. Oh, she's muted herself. She's muted herself. She's going offline, ladies and gentlemen. We're losing Monica. We're losing Monica. That's okay, though, because I can keep talking. That is the T-shirt. Monica sent me one of those T-shirts, and I actually had the T-shirt on last week. Everything okay?
Yeah, but they don't, they got no respect around here. No respect.
I think you should do the rest of the show with your accent, your New York accent.
With my mom. Should I just go sit next to my mom? Listen, could because I'm not plugged into the wall, to be honest with you.
Well, listen, here's what I thought we would do now. We're about 27 minutes. I told you this is going to be a short one today because, and here's the thing, you froze up a couple times and so have I. No, I'm glad we weren't in the middle of a really in-depth conversation because that would have been frustrating. So what I thought I would do now for Monica and our fans, and I think this will be one of the most enjoyable ones people have watched. They know what you think every day. They can get on your podcast. They see us every week. Every now and then, sprinkle a little fun, a little magic in here, and people are like, oh, that was different. So I thought I would just bring up some headlines that have nothing to do with politics and get your take on them. And if that doesn't go well, I'll go get my phone and we'll do the tweets.
No, bring it. I need more light, bro.
Okay, there you go. Here we go. Can you read that headline?
Just in time for Halloween, after weeks of trapping and searching, Washington state entomologists have found the first ever Asian giant murder hornet. Holy nest in U.S. found. Holy cannoli, boy.
Look at the size of that.
Looks like that guy got bit a little bit there. See?
Oh my gosh. Look at the size of that thing.
Yikes. Those things need to be deep fried and dipped in chocolate. Yikes.
Welcome to 2020, boys and girls.
I have to say, I used to live in LA, and then when I came back this time, only to discover there are mosquitoes, that was enough to get rid of me. They're like, of course, Asian. I think they just I think they deliberately infect us with these things sometimes and blame, because Asia.
Well, here's what happened. I live in Southeast Tennessee. You lived in Atlanta for a while. So mosquitoes and humidity are just part of the world down here. So the thing that I always wondered is, it's just me I'm not smart enough to figure this out. Why can't mosquitoes spread COVID and the flu? They're in blood and they go to you, they go to the next person. I always thought they're going to come out and say mosquitoes can spread and if you go,
look, if you want to go to like everything we were taught to believe about science without evidence, but just what they teach you in school is that respiratory microbes, disease-causing microbes need to enter the respiratory system.
Yep.
GI need to be enter the GI system. So you breathe, cough, sneeze, the bugs that get you nose sick and lung sick, and the stuff that gets you gut sick, you eat. That's why you wash your hands. You don't wash your hands for the flu or cold, not at all, just for like hepatitis and stuff like that. And then a blood-borne disease, which is very rare. AIDS, for example, is not a blood-borne disease. But if you were to have a blood-borne disease,
malaria,
I guess, theoretically,
malaria is.
There you go. That would be, I shouldn't say rare, but we don't have a lot of those here, if any. And that is why Atlanta was actually established in the swamps, because they had malaria there. They put the CDC in Atlanta because it was swampy and malarial. The CDC was about eradicating malaria, which they did. They did that here. And they were going to do it in Africa also, but then people were like, oh, wait, no, sorry.
But now they're breaking down the CDC anyway. The CDC is going away anyway eventually. That's all right.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Paradox.
I assume that they're going to relinquish all.
I love silence. Relinquish all what?
I thought you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we got cut off. Relinquish all control to the higher political entity. So, like Trump. The World Health Organization. is going. Like the CDC
No.
might go away, but doesn't mean it's going to go to your town. It means it's going to go to Brussels or something. So
Yeah.
paradox, free time travel is theoretically possible, researchers say. But don't you feel like if there were time travel, we'd have run into time travelers?
No, I think we have. Go Google time traveler pictures, and they'll show you pictures throughout history of people or things caught on camera that look like they're from the future. This is saying, if you read this article, it actually says, you know, the old thing is if you go back in time and change something, it will affect your future. They're saying that there's a way that may not be true. So if you do go back in time,
I believe that. Yeah, because certainly it would be true if there are like the multiverse and a bunch of different parallel universes. I don't really buy that, but
hey, this is one of my favorite headlines right here. I did not read the article and I have no idea what it means, but I just thought you're having all the travel issues, you're tired. I thought this would make you smile.
Woman gives birth, fights off bees, starts wildfire in Northern California. All at once, I assume.
I have no idea what she's going
through. One of those typically misleading headlines where it says all that stuff, but in the article you realize that it's not the same person, that like all those things did happen, but it's not like it's the same chick, but I assume it's the same chick.
I didn't read it because I did not want to spoil that. I didn't want to be a dose of reality. I wanted to live in that headline. That to me is a great headline. You talk about sharing some memories when you get older.
Was her name Karen?
Probably. Monica. Her name was Monica.
Another way to bash Karen.
Hey, before we do this one, I want to ask you a question. Have you heard, this is kind of a serious question as far as compared to what we're talking about today, but the rumor has it that there's the hint that they may try to break up Google.
So what? I don't think that's a big deal, because think of how they did it with the oil companies. That what they do is, this is how they do it. This is what I think they're going to do. They're going to put antitrust stuff in Google at the same time that they repeal Section 230. Once they take out Section 230, anybody who's big and in the business is going to be able to carry on, because they will be able to afford the kind of monitoring and censorship that repealing 230 will require. And anybody who wants to just start up is going to not only not have the money to put that apparatus in, it's going to be very easy to target them. You just start putting incendiary on Gab, and then turn around and set up a false flag where somebody got a bad idea from Gab and went and shot up a pizza place, whatever. So you have all that. And then in order to offset what will appear to be a complete monopolization within each niche of big tech, they break it up. So you'll have Google and Google 2 and Google 3 all looking like three different companies with three different names on it, but they will all maintain the same backdoor relationships with the government or the powers that be. But it will make us think that we still have some competition in those niches, but that will be the kind of flip side of them shutting it all down from any outsider who might still want to deliver an open platform for speech on the internet. And now that the lockdown has disallowed us from actually assembling, and all our public square has been put into this pipe, then they just control the pipe. And if they put 3 controlled pipes up, it'll seem more legit.
It'll seem like we have more, but it'll be just the same
like
principle.
Standard Oil and Esso. They were still all just Rockefeller oil. And it's not like the Rockefellers were ruined.
Yeah. Well, they actually, when you do it that way, if the same person or persons own all 3, they actually can make more. They'll actually have more power and control. And
even if they don't want it to be that obvious, the thing that's most concerning is that every new company that comes out of that kind of a breakup is going to have the same backdoor relationship with Palantir or the Department of Defense. Well, whereas Gab might not. And what you want is to ruin Gab.
It's taking one puppet, tearing it apart, making 3 separate puppets, but it's still the same puppeteer. They just look different.
In order for you to not understand that.
Oh, look, 3 different puppets, but they're all the same puppet.
That's right. And that's actually, Binkley reads this stuff straight out of the CIA handbook that says, oh, if you want to infiltrate the conversation in a foreign country, make sure you have like 4 or 5 different organizations saying the thing that you want to say, so it looks like it's coming from all different areas.
So check this out. You talk about COVID hitting everybody hard. An aquarium, and this is in North Carolina, I think. Yeah. Aquarium is watching old wishes to pay bills. They actually emptied out all of their tanks where kids were throwing all the change in, and they're collecting all of the money to help them pay bills in North Carolina.
Wow. I wonder if there's going to be some sanitation issue arising from that.
This is a real one right here, though. Look at this one. This is really happening. I know people that are kind of doing this.
Wow. I'm waiting for my priest to do it, for crying out loud. Secret gyms and the economics of prohibition. COVID-19 safeguards have created a black market for gyms. Bring it on.
Yeah, there's people
on.
They're heading and starting, and lights are out, meeting in different places. But it's almost, I think to myself, like, well, that's happening. It's going to happen with churches. You're right.
Could be a trap if they're building isolation facilities.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Stop. Let me take that down. Now we can see the. I didn't know if you were doing your giant hornet, murder hornet.
No.
Or you were doing okay.
No, that's this. That's the murder.
Oh, somebody's
like the bunny, like the bunny from
Little Bunny Foo Foo.
The bunny from Monty Python.
Oh,
the little vicious man-eating bunny. Yeah,
got the fangs.
No, but this is when the scientists talk. The scientists talk about isolation facilities, also known as concentration camps.
Also known as good luck. Yeah, so in the UK, in Europe, they now have given them permission. You don't have to call them veggie burgers anymore. You can just call them burgers, which I think is false advertisement and total BS. That's what I think.
The older I get, the more I realize I feel. The more I ate processed food, the worse I feel, especially in the COVID times where this is the worst thing for the health that has ever happened is locking down the gyms. In California, they've locked down all the good restaurants and only the fast food restaurants are stayed open. I mean, it's really crazy. And if they start taking animal protein away from people, for crying out loud, and the soy allergies are going to go through the damn roof.
So when you go home to mom's, I got one more picture and then we'll start wrapping it up. I promised you we'd keep it around 40 minutes today, make it light for you. This has been fun though, has it not?
If I mute, it's a little better, I try to keep it muted because of this crazy lunatics back here.
No, so I guess my question is
it's like they're having a party. I can't get 40 minutes. Could you imagine? I grew up the youngest of 9 in this house. Can you imagine trying to do homework? That's why everybody dropped out of high school, but me. You're a
genius. Hey, what's your IQ? Because I've had mine tested. Have you had your IQ tested?
I'm going to give you the answer to that question, but it annoys me because there's a lot of IQ inflation. It's 140. 140. See? So, but there's a lot of IQ inflation. So we're like, oh, her IQ is 220. It's like, I don't think so, but whatever.
No, I had mine measured twice. Once when I was 21 in college, and the other time coming out of college, and they both
21 is pretty low, Clint.
Well, the other one I was coming out of college. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree.
21 or 21?
No, I was actually what I was going to say is when I took when I was 21, when I took when I was 24, and it was one of them was 125 and one was 127.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's a great score, and it's much more valid that there's similar results.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So the rumor was, what I was told is they're supposed to be, for them to be considered valid, they were supposed to be in a certain point. Like if you've got one that's 150 and one that's 88, then you've taken the wrong test.
Well, there are a bunch of different tests. So all the other tests are higher numbers. So I could give you higher numbers, but it's not, I don't think it's the test that whatever. And then my son who has Down syndrome, basically rule of thumb is that a person who has Down syndrome has half the IQ he or she otherwise would have had. And his IQ is the highest I have ever heard in a person with Down syndrome is 70, which is quite high. Quite high. It is. Yeah. So, and that I attribute it to that. It's just funny. He's so freaking. Oh my gosh, I have to read you this thing. Oh my gosh, did I read this to you? The letter he wrote to Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think so, but read it again because he may have read it last week. I don't know. I can't.
I think I did. This one? Hold on.
Yeah, we can't read it. Read it to us.
No, I'm just saying, have you seen that? It says, "Dear government, I have a complaint." Yeah, I think I read this to you. I really want you to bring back Halloween. I'm not going to threaten you. I just want Halloween back. That holiday is my favorite time of year. Please accept, EXCEPT, this letter from your friend. And then he sends me a follow-up text because he isn't sure I responded in time. And he sent me, it says, you know that government letter that's in your room on the table next to my laptop? I want you to send it to the post office so Donald J. Trump can read it and talk on the news about returning Halloween in its all original self. If he does, then awesome. But if he doesn't, oh boy, he's going to get it.
You got to post that letter. That's the greatest letter ever.
I feel like that's a threat. I don't want to get him in trouble. Oh boy.
We've got senators and Congress people threatening our president. Golly. I mean, you know, geez almighty.
Plus, he thinks Trump is going to let him get a driver's license.
Send it to Trump. Let's see what Trump does. You never know. Trump's the superhero anyway, as you know. Hey, this
Trump
is our last
might
picture.
Actually read that. It would be good. Okay.
Trump would read that, and I'm telling you right now.
Okay, maybe I'll send it to him. Person flying with a jetpack spotted near Los Angeles International Airport again. This is the second jetpack sighting in 6 weeks. It's unclear whether they're related. FBI and FAA are investigating.
It's the third time, though, this year, and they're up between like 5,000 and 8,000 feet above the airport, one person in a jetpack.
That's crazy because there are planes taking off. What the hell?
Birds and air and a jetpack. I'm telling you, though, that's what's his name? That's who owns Tesla? What's the guy's name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. That's something he would do. Why don't you like Elon Musk? Before we wrap this show,
I don't like any of the big tech face jobs. I don't believe anyone who, first of all, every one of them has some backstory connection to military intelligence or the nuclear administration or whatever, which is the parent of big tech. Oh my gosh. JJ says, my son is literally going to be a jetpack flying man for Halloween this year. LOL. That's a great idea. You should take lots of dronal pictures.
I'm going to dress up like JJ Boogie. That's who I'm going to go for this
year. Dude, not a bad look. So
I can't pull it off. I don't have enough hair.
Let me tell you about the big tech guys. Just every one of them is basically has the same story. This child phenom who never finished school and built the thing on some ramshackle computer and then built it up so that it was bigger. And then it was the number one thing in the industry. And then they made this big company and they managed all these people. And then they had this big public company and they're the face job. Then they go to Congress and they can report. No, anything, the most basic understanding of business skills is the guy who drops out of school and hangs out in his basement to have some new computer software is basically never the guy who can manage a 10,000 or 100,000 person organization and expand it internationally and negotiate the politics with the government and be the face job. I mean, these people are clearly fully formed, created persons. And Elon Musk, to me, he tweets stuff that changes the stock price, and that guy continues to work at that company, own the stock. I mean, that kind of stuff's outrageous.
But that's like people now, Bill Gates going on shows and podcasts as a medical person. You have people asking Bill Gates now about the COVID and the future.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. People say, well, watch out who you can't criticize because that's the person who's running the world. Watch out who does not get sued for libel, who doesn't get the rules held against them. SEC rules of talking out, dangerous misinformation. Like the people who are immune to that, they know it. They know they are. And that's why they go crazy like that. And they're there to do that. And they're there perhaps even to lure people into doing the same thing, not knowing that if you do it, you get big trouble.
This has been fun, Monica.
Has it really?
You haven't enjoyed a little lighter version?
I have. It's a little distracting in this crazy house. I wish I could show you. Oh my gosh, you're going to love it. Can I show you something?
Tell your mom we said hi.
So let's see if you can see. Oh, you can't see it. Those are people. But out there is a giant American flag, which raises always. It's always flying the flag.
Well, tell everybody how to find your podcast, and then I've got one last favor to ask you. How do people listen to you or buy your gear?
Okay, so go to thepropreport.com and you can find at the top there Propaganda Report store and merch. I'm sorry, I have to. I've got.
No, I figured I don't want to make you feel bad. See,
I get like a king, like you're very. If you do it, then it's okay for me to do it. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So I've got the merch there. I've got a little page for my sponsors because everybody there has something fun that you can get, from a libertarian novel to CBD to T-shirts to just a lot of the homesteading. So you can get that at thepropreport.com. But if you want to listen to me, go to the Propaganda Report at your favorite podcasting platform. And if you want the really fun stuff, all of that and more, go to patreon.com/propaganda report.
During the Break podcast on Apple, marketingmixradio.com for my business, our Dayfire podcast. We talk about adventures in the great outdoors. And I have a buddy that has a new company here called Granite Garage Floors Chattanooga, who is sponsoring some of my podcasts now. So my buddy Dan Meninger, check him out here locally in Chattanooga or North Georgia area, Granite Garage Floors of Chattanooga. Sing us a song, Monica and Clint. A little duet would be great. Hold on one second there, JJ Boogie. I got one more picture I want to show Monica, and then we'll get Monica to sing. But I do have a favor. Hey, I want to show you one more picture that I sent. A buddy of mine sent me, and I sent it to some of my buddies. And you are, if I'm not mistaken, ma'am, you are, where's my picture at? Where in the wide, wide world of sports did it go? There we go. You are a Second Amendment. We're all Second Amendment believers. We support our Second Amendment, do we not?
The whole thing from beginning to end.
Check out this thing. This is what I want for Christmas, everybody, if y'all could. Check out that little Gatling gun that you can get for your house.
Wow, that's good. That might even be what I call resistance grade weaponry. Right there.
That right there is, if you come through the front door, we got something for you on the other side. That's what that's called. Hey, thank you for doing it. I know it's been a little challenging with the Wi-Fi, but I'm glad you made it back home. And your mom is in the other room, correct?
Yeah, she's over there.
Is there any way that she could just kind of loudly say, bye, Clint? I'd like to hear your mom say, bye, Clint.
Hold on.
Oh, we lost Monica.
Bye, Clint. Thanks, Clint. I'm back again. We love Tennessee.
Yes. Heck yeah. That made me happy right there. That made me
These
happy.
Crazy kids.
You crazy Northerners. That's what makes America great. From California to New York to Tennessee, we all love each other. That's awesome.
That is true. You can live in our tunnel anytime, Clint. When we all have to go around, bring your Gatling gun. We'll bring our sense of humor.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. I'll say y'all, and you can say humor.
And we'll say have a bagel.
Have a bagel, and I'll say have some sweet tea. Monica, you have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Monica's family.
I go out walking after midnight. Out in